you guys. So, this will be picking up directly where we had left off with the previous recording for the Clover game. Now, this is actually my second time recording it because Mobizen, who I now know has an error, sometimes freezes your video after you're done and won't stop it. So, if you use Mobizen, just be aware that it can delete your video, and yeah, you want to be conscious of whether or not it's frozen or if it's still responding properly when you go to stop the recording. And without further ado, we will be picking up where we left off. So she's actually commenting here about the door, because the door had been broken down from the last upload that we had watched in that last section. She had been complaining that the twins had knocked down our door, and so she's like, the door, ... She's like, look where the door was. And she's like, no, ... because it's not there anymore. And she's like, it was connected with the hallway. He's like, so? I was forced to enter without permission because there was no door to knock on. And she's like, I still want to speak to you about that, ... And he comments on how busy it is in her room right now with everyone in there. And she's just like, ... And then she's like, if you look at the fuss of the room with the twins and Elliot, that may be the case, that it looks busy. However, there is something that isn't quite right. And he's like, yes, it's quite different, my reason for coming, compared to Elliot. And she's like, you are the #1 person who I don't want to enter my room without permission.
#1 ね。地位だけで十分だが、そうか。君にとって私が最も意識する対象というわけだな。
He's like, #1 ne? So like, #1, huh? Just the position is enough to hold the title. And she's like, the mafia boss seems to be a positive creature. And she's like, he holds a dangerous job and dodges words that are meaningful. So, in that sense, he is difficult to get away with being friends with, because he is always that one. And she's like, although it may be the same face as the man who was once my ex-lover, blood invites something in the direction of color. So like, she's biased towards his statements because of this, but she's still suspicious on whether or not he's serious, like when he does this. And she's like, no matter how much the twins press me, it always seems like the play of a young friend, but he is different. And she's like, it's very annoying.
そんなにまで危険と認識されるとは、男として喜ばしい限りだ、お嬢さん。
She had commented that he was dangerous, and he's like, you can be recognized as dangerous as long as you are happy as a man, young lady. And she's like, don't call me like that.
いいじゃないか。
And he's like, isn't it good? And he laughs, foo-foo. That was the beginning part right there. And she's like, it's not good. I'm saying that I don't want to be called that I don't like it.
君の反応が可愛いものだから、ついね。許してくれ。
He's like, your response is so cute. Yes, forgive me, please, Alice. And she's like, he's a troublesome man who can get away with it. And she's like, however, I'm very happy with my regret. It fits me. She's like, he's somewhere between lazy and cold, and I'm attached to something. And his style doesn't matter. She's like, there's many things that we have in common, and some of his difficulties are the same for me. A talented person who has something in common and is yet different from me. And she's like, he has that exquisite balance as a friend that is similar and different, but comfortable. However, there are dangers that could be quite different than just being associated with someone that's normal like her. She's like, I'm with you, and I can't be rest assured. Blood Dupree is a mafia boss. Without saying that, he is still a dangerous friend.
お前らのせいでブラッドがノックできなかったんだぞ。反省しろよ。
And Elliot's actually mad at the twins here because they knocked down the door, so he's like, and it's your fault that Blood failed to knock. Reflect on that.
急いでたんだよ。引っ越しをしたことをお姉さんに教えてあげたくて。
Dee says, I was in a hurry. I wanted to tell our sister that we moved.
そうだよ。早くお姉さんに教えてあげようと思ったんだ。ドアを壊す価値のあるちゃんとした理由だろ。
And then Dum's like, yes, I wanted to tell our sister soon. It is a good reason to break down the door, right? And Elliot speaks self-righteously because he seems correct, and the twins refute it. She's like, what?
そうなんだよお姉さん。引っ越したのまだ知らなかったよね。
Because she asked him about moving, and he's like, yes, that's right, elder sister, we moved. Didn't you know
僕
yet?
ら一番に教えてあげようと思ったんだ。お引っ越し初めてでしょ。ドアを壊す値段分の価値はあるよね。
And Dum's like, we wanted to tell you first of all, because you're the best. And is this your first time moving? Is it worth the price of breaking down the door? She's like, what? Moving, ... And she's like, do you guys want to move? Because she doesn't understand. And she's like, it's a big deal. It seems to be difficult just to arrange the moving destination. However...
ああ、私もそれを教えに来たんだ。
And Blood's like, oh, I've come to teach you about it.
残念ながら先を越されてしまったようだがな。
He comments, though unfortunately it seems that the opportunity has passed. And she's like, huh? And Elliot's like...
お前らのせいでブラッドが一番に教えられなかったんだぞ。反省しろよ。
Elliot starts scolding the twins. He's like, Blood couldn't teach her because you guys took away his opportunity. It was because of you. And she's like, I only know the direction that this conversation is heading, but for the time being, she feels like she's wrong, like she doesn't quite understand. She's like, I'm new to moving. Where are you guys going? She's like, if the move was completed, did you bring the main luggage already? Or are you guys just planning the destination? And she's like, it's a big mansion. It would be impossible not to notice because there's going to be a lot of fuss. The latter possibility is high that they're just planning it. And she's like, either way, it seems good for you to tell me in advance. This is too sudden. She's like, something feels different. And she's like, it's just like him, that I didn't know what everyone else knew. And she called him a really bad word there. She's like, I didn't know that I would move. And she's like, I'm a freeloader. It's prudent that you tell me so that way I can criticize. She's like, was it decided before? I wish I had been able to say something. And she's like, it's still saying that I'm an outsider. I know. She's like, I know I'm working in this household, but I was depressed that I thought that they still counted me as an outsider.
急な話だったんだよ。いつ引っ越すかも決まってなかったしな。
Elliot kind of cuts her off and he, like, explains. It was a sudden happening. Like, I didn't know I was moving
予
either.
定は未定。引っ越しは決まっていても確定はしてない。計画性がないよね。
And Dee's like, the schedule is undecided. Even if moving is decided, it's not decided on where. There is no plan.
いつ引っ越そうと延長料金がかかってくるわけじゃないからね。気楽なものなんだよ。
And Dum's like, it's no extra charge when you move. It's easy to do. And she's like, fun, ... She's like, somehow, this seems like it would be a lot of work, like troublesome.
本当だぜ。決まってなかったんだ。
And Elliot's like, it's true, it wasn't decided. And she's like, although he has a different external attitude, Elliot never lies, or doesn't seem to lie to me. And he is a sincere person, especially to people he's fond of. She's like, but it's not a sudden decision to move a house. That's just a bit much, ... And she's like, it's a hard to believe story, even though it's coming from a trusted person. And she's like, And she's like, blood. This is your fault.
なんだいきなり。
He's like, huh? What's happening suddenly? Like, why are you blaming me? And she's like, it is always you that suddenly does something. See, it was you again.
何が？私にとっては君の方がいきなりだよ。
And he's like, for me, you're the one that's being sudden, Alice. And she's like, take us back. And again, you have always acted on a whim. And she's like, that's decided. He always does things on a whim. Blood told me that he was going to move us suddenly. And there are many times in the past with this previous department that he's been in a mood and just engages everyone to go along with it in good standing. And she's like, some examples would be sudden change of work policy, an idea, or a picnic, or a tea party, a number of things that were changed and decided upon depending on his mood. And she's like, there were many times that I had to make a plan myself, which was canceled when he changed his mood.
引っ越したのは私の思いつきじゃないぞ。回っていく。それがルールなんだ。
And he's like, it's not my idea to move, it's the rule going around, ... He's like, don't blame me. And she's like, the intention of blame seemed to have been transmitted, even if it doesn't appear specifically in the conversation. She thinks to herself, rules that go around. And she's like, rule, ... She's like, I don't know the standards and I don't know the rules. She's like, I should already get used to this. In this world, the meaning is unknown when a word rule comes out. It's a peculiar type of common sense that I don't understand. And she's like, this time it wasn't on your whim?
そうともひどい言いがかりだ。私はやりたいことをやりたい時に実行する。ただそれだけのことだ。
He explains that it would be a bad idea if he were to just move them on a whim. He's like, I do it when I want to do something specific. That's it. So he only does it when he absolutely needs to. And she's like, that's why you're not going to be bothered.
自分に正直な男なんだ。私は。
And he explains that that's actually why he's excited, because he can't do it all the time. It's like something new. And he's like, I'm an honest man, I am. And he was like, did you want me to urge you in different words? And she was like, to put it coldly, he had lamented that, why don't you understand already? So this was just something that she was supposed to understand. And she's thinking to herself, of course there is no way to understand. If you understand, then that means you're finished as a sane person. She's like, I have my standards, and there are a lot of incompatibility. There's a lot of incompatibility, even though I feel good here. And she's like, it's because I'm always selfish. She's like, subordinates have it hard, mainly the Usagi, which would be the rabbit, so Elliot. And she even says this to him. She's like, that's hard, isn't it, Elliot, having to deal with those, like, mood swings and everything?
まさか大変なことなんて一つもないぜ。
He's like, no way, there's nothing troublesome about it. And she's like, rabbit, no, he's a dog. The tail that shouldn't be there seems to actually wag. And she's like, Elliot is Blood Dupree's dog, as he calls himself, his loyal dog.
ブラッドはわがままなんかじゃないぜ。すべては常人には計り知れない深い考えあってのことなんだ。
He's like, blood is not selfish, Alice. And she's like thinking, twinkle, twinkle, that's what it looks like over there, because he's got like this huge look of admiration, and it's like glowing. And she thinks to herself that the head of Blood's harm seems to be lacking any type of trouble. And she's like, the look of respect shines brightly over there.
ブラッドは偉いんだぜ。賢くて思慮深くてブラッドの下で働ける俺って幸せだよな。
And Elliot's like, Blood is great. He's wise and thoughtful, and I'm happy to work under Blood. She's like, shining, shining over there. And she's like, he thinks this so seriously. She asks Blood, don't you feel sorry for him, like, doing this?
痛むような良心も持ち合わせていないはずなんだが。
Somehow he feels bad. He's like, I shouldn't have a painful conscience, but he's like, I do. And she's like, I'm done here. My chest hurts, right? Like, she feels sympathy and sadness for this.
こいつには弱い。胸より頭が痛む。
And he's like, yes, I'm weak for this guy. My head hurts from, like, my heart down to, like, from my heart to my head. It's like, you made my chest hurt. And she was thinking, like, she was thinking, like, hurt? And then there was, like, a sound, I think, because it translated to Koran. And she's thinking that Elliot's like, I believe I will follow you and unconditionally trust you, and will come with you. Like, that's what she gets off of Elliot, I think.
なんだよ、二人とも。なあ、あんたもブラッドに仕えられて幸せだよな。
And Blood just before had told him to knock it off because she had said, like, don't you feel bad that he's extolling, like, all of these non-existent virtues? And then Blood was like, please, Elliot, just stop. And then he, like, had that question mark, ... And then, like, she was thinking about him thinking that everybody should just follow Blood, like, unconditionally. And he cuts in and he's like, now both of you, well, Alice, are you happy to serve Blood? Because he's like, I am. And she's asking herself, huh? And she's like, am I happy to serve Blood? And she's like, what's the answer for this rabbit? She's like, no other reply is prepared.
な、ブラッドって最高の上司だもんな。使えられる俺たちは幸せだぜ。
Because she didn't give an answer, he steamed right over and he was like, nah, like, right? And then Blood is the best boss. We are happy to serve him. And she's thinking, twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. That's what it looks like over there. And she's like, huh, yeah, yeah. And she's thinking, like, glitter, glitter, glitter. That's what it looks like over there. And she's like, I can't believe my eyes now. She's like, that's right. Oh yeah, we're blessed with a good boss. I'm happy. And Elliot's like, I know, I'll be with Blood the rest of my life. It sometimes translates it that way. And she's like, wow, I'm happy. With like spaces in between. And she's thinking, my goodness. And she's thinking, ha ha ha. Ha. Dot dot dot. Dot dot dot.
さぞ胸が痛むだろう。私の気持ちが理解してもらえたかな。
He's like, my head hurts and so does my heart. And she's just like, she's like, you got told something that you didn't know.
一日もついていきたくないと。別の意味で言いたくなってきたぞ。
He's like, would you like to keep this up for the whole day, this bantering, dot dot dot? And she's like, it's fine, we can keep doing this if you have some painful moments. And she's like, but this hurts me too. She's like, so, was it moving that you were talking about, dot dot dot? And she's like, when will you move to the new house? Because she still doesn't get it. And she's like, let's return to the original story of why everyone came in her room.
いや、引っ越しはもうすべて完了している。移動する必要はない。
He's like, no, all of the moves are already done. There's no need to move. And she's like, Blood also regained his attention, so he picked up his cane again. And she's like, what do you mean there's no need to move?
引っ越しはもう終わってるんだ。もう移動してるんだから、俺たちが動く必要はないだろ。
And Elliot's like, the move is over. We've already moved, so we don't have to move? Question mark. And she's like, he answers natural, but it's kind of refreshing. She's like, there's a lot of common sense things that I'm familiar with in this world, but I still don't understand them. She's like, every time you think you're going to have an idea of what's going on, or you've gotten used to it, new common sense will appear. There is no limit. And she's like, however, as I've already become accustomed to surprises, I am confident that in most cases I will not be upset with the changes. She's like, I'm kind of confident. She said, people call it adaptation. And it's like, nah. To herself right here. And she's like, what's this? What's going on? Because she went outside. She's like, I know if I go outside, or she's like, I know I need to go outside, so I changed clothes and went there.
引っ越したんだ。そう言っただろ。驚かないよう教えたのに。
He's like, you said you understand, but we moved. I told you not to be surprised. And she's like, Blood is the only one that would say something so foolish when actually going out and seeing the changes. She's like, the moody guy seems to be in a refreshing mood. and isn't that far.
お前らの教え方が悪かったんだぞ。ブラッドに任しておけばいいのに。
And Elliot's like, your way of teaching was bad. I wish you would have left it up to Blood. So he's yelling at the twins.
なんだよ、人のせいにして。ひよこが邪魔するからだろ。ひよこ頭、ひよこうさぎ。
And they're like, what? Blaming people because you're in the way. Like, you're a chick head, a chick rabbit, so a chicken rabbit.
そうだよ、お前のせいだよ。引っ越したことろくに説明できなかったんだ。ピヨピヨ頭、バカウサギ。
They're like, yes, it's actually your fault. We can't explain that we moved, and I'm sorry. Like, if it didn't come out right. But it's still your fault. They're yelling, I am back. And she's like, moved. I moved. The moving is already complete. She's like, looking back on the conversations that we've been having so far, it's all been in the past tense, as in it's finished. She's like, they constantly said relocated. And she just thought that they had moved to a new house, she said, ...
そんなことは言っていないぞ。なぜ移転などしなくてはならないんだ。
Blood cuts in. He's like, don't say that. Why should I have to move?
そんな手間は面倒だ。私は面倒なことはしない。
He's like, it's a hassle. I wouldn't do that. And she's like, oh, that would be the case for you, ... because it's too troublesome. And she's like, even if I don't say it, I usually think so too, that you would be like that. And she's like, that you'll notice every time. And she's like, there's also nothing normal in this world. She's like, everything is wrong compared to my world. It's too different, ...
引っ越しは初めてなのか。慣れないことには戸惑うだろう。
And Blood's like, is this the first time that you're moving, Alice? She's like, yes, I'm confused. And she's like, my reply is also empty, because I'm too confused.
引っ越し慣れしていないのか。じゃあ驚くよな。
And Elliot's like, Alice, are you not used to moving?
それもこれも、お前らがちゃんと説明しとかないせいで。まったくクソガキどもはいっつも話をややこしくしやがる。
Elliot's like, even this is just because the twins didn't explain it properly, ...
なんだよ、なんだよ。僕らのせいだって言うのか。ガキだとか関係ないだろ。
And Dee's like, what is it? Like, why are you saying it's because of us?
子供だから説明下手なんだよ。だからブラッドに任せときゃいいのに。
He complains that they're children, and that's why they're not good at explaining.
子供ってバカウサギ、ひよこウサギ、ピヨピヨうるさいんだよ。
So Dom actually cuts in and he's like, children and kids, huh? Well, you're an idiot rabbit, a chick rabbit, that's crazy, a chicken rabbit.
俺はウサギじゃねえ。犬だ。
And he's like, I'm not a rabbit, I'm a dog.
そんな耳した犬がいるか。バカウサギ。
And then they're like, the twins, is there such a dog that I can hear such stupid things from?
バカバカ言うな。バカって言う方がバカなんだ。
And Elliot's like, don't be stupid, you're more stupid.
クソガキ、クソガキ、クソガキ。
And I believe he's calling them like little brats, little brats, little brats. And she's like, do you guys want to act your age, maybe? She's like, the inside of my head becomes too emptied and then conversely becomes calm. She's like, it's pure white because I'm stunned. She's like, was it also a land development that happened while I was sleeping?
あったとしたら面白いがね。残念ながら、そんな面白いことはなかった。退屈なことに、ただの引っ越しだよ。
Blood's actually like, it would be interesting if that was the case. Unfortunately, there wasn't such an interesting thing that happened. It was boring. We just moved. She's like, Blood responds sloppily and boring. Or sloppily and says it's boring. And then she's like, for me, it's mysterious why he can be bored. as if it's just a matter of fact. She's like, the terrain has changed, all in big letters.
引っ越したからな、地形も変わるさ。
And he's like, well, it's moving. The terrain will change. She's like, what kind of moving, ... She's like, the scenery in front of us has changed, and however, the familiar road has become different. And she's like, however, it's not so high that you can't get the whole picture, but it is clearly different. The scenery around the mansion was different from before she had gone sleeping. She's like, what happened, ... She's like, why is the scenery changing, ...
引っ越しだぜ。引っ越したら景色は変わるもんだろ。
He's like, it's because we're moving. If you move, the scenery will change. She's like, what moved? She's like, I'm stunned. I'm not sure how to react. She's like, did you move the mansion? She's like, overnight? She's like, it must be impossible, but my poor head, bound by common sense, says that it's not possible. She's like, I was able to sleep during a lot. With such a big move and big construction, it seems almost unrealistic. Am I right? So she's thinking they did like a landscaping project or something, or moved them to a different house. And Elia here is saying, like, what are you talking about, Alice? Why didn't we move? We moved, and the land is moving. That's why it's like this. And she's like, any moving, ... She's like, in this world, does land move when you're moving, ... And he's like, naturally. She's like, Elia is straightforward. And she's like, that means that moving means the land moves, not people. And she's like, unfortunately, there is no such common sense in my poor life experience, so this doesn't happen where I'm from.
急な引っ越しだったから驚いたでしょ。予告なく引っ越すなんて合理的じゃないよね。予告なしの休暇なら嬉しいけど。
And Dee's like, you were surprised because it was a sudden move. Isn't it reasonable to move without notice?
予定にない引っ越しなんて嬉しくもなんともないよ。ボーナスなら予定にあろうがなかろうが嬉しいものだけどね。
And then the twins are like, I'm glad that I'm not planning the move. If it's a bonus, I'm happy whether it's planned or not. And she's thinking to herself, I'm not surprised because it was an unexpected move. Just that moving itself. I'm surprised you call it moving. And she's like, but my surprise doesn't seem to be understood by anyone.
てめえらは引っ越しがなくても予告なしで予定にない休暇を取るだろう。真面目に働けよ。ボーナスなんて冗談じゃないぜ。
So he was actually calling the twins a bad word because they were taking it as like an unexpected bonus of vacation. And he's like, even if you have moved, will you forget to take work seriously? A bonus and an unplanned vacation is not a joke.
労働条件の改善を求めてるんだよ。効率のいい労働に休暇は欠かせないものなんだ。
And the twins are like, we're looking for improvements in working conditions. Vacations are indispensable for efficient work.
そうだよ。労働意欲は報酬によって決まるものなんだよ。いい働きにはボーナスが伴うものさ。
And another twin's like, yes, work motivation depends on the rewards. Good work is accompanied by bonuses. And then she explains that Dee was complaining about the work conditions. And then Dam complains about the rewards, which are both normal. And she's like, Elliot humbles at first, but soon cuts off and shoots a gun as usual. She's like, there was a problem with this being a normal site, but it was a normal site for her, except for the new scenery around them.
遊園地と時計塔が消えてしまっているな。
And Blood's like, the amusement park and the clock tower are gone, ...
あちらからすれば帽子や屋敷が消えたということになるが、こちらとしては 向こうが消えたということになる。
He's like, from this point, or from their point, the hat parlor, so the hat territory has disappeared, but for us, the other side has disappeared, so the clock tower and the amusement park. So Julius Monray is no longer there, and Mary Gowland from the first in the fandisc game, they're gone. They were left behind. And she's like, Blood says that there is a difference in subjectivity. Or like, he says this with a difference in subjectivity. And she's like, as usual, he seems to find this tedious and troublesome in all. She's like, what? What was that?
遊園地と時計塔が消えてしまっている。引っ越して消えたんだ。
And he explains again that the amusement park and the clock tower have disappeared. And he's repeating the troublesome statement politely. That's how much she was visibly stunned. She's like, the amusement park and the clock tower are gone, ... She's like, why did they disappear in big letters?
引っ越したからだよ、お嬢さん。あっちからすればこっちが引っ越し、こっちからすればあっちが引っ越したことになる。
So he's explaining how the move works, that if you get transferred over from land B, then when you do, it'll pull you over from there. And so, like, you won't have left anything behind.
あちらから見ればこちらが消え、こちらから見ればあちらが消えた。引っ越したのだから消えもする。
And Blood's like, if you look at it from here, they disappeared. And if you look at it from where they're at, we disappeared. So I've moved and I've disappeared. And she's like, why does it disappear when I move? Is this really called moving?
景色が変わったのだから引っ越したに決まっているだろう。はあ、説明は面倒だ。
He's already tired with the explanation. He's like, the explanation is overwhelmingly making me tired. And he's like, the scenery has changed, so it's just decided that we moved. Is that good enough for you? And she's like, I don't care what the reason is. Or he's like, I don't care what the reason is. Anyway, I've moved, Alice.
理由なんてどうでもいいじゃないか。ともかく引っ越したんだよ。時計は回るものだ。土地だって変わっていくさ。
And what's interesting here is that he was basically explaining that the clock, Wonderland, is turning, and then he says that the land is changing because of it. Now, the roll holders represent the hour hands on the clock, and then the faceless people that populate, like, the cities and everything, and the territories, and our subordinates under them, are all supposed to represent, like, the second hands on the clock. And there's supposed to be no more than 12 roll holders, so 12 hour hands on the clock, within a specific region of Wonderland, or dimension of Wonderland. And so they've just left behind Mary Gowland and Julius Monray for the amusement park and the clock tower to make room for some other ones. And he's explaining that this is just how it works. Like, she doesn't get it because he's not explaining in full detail, but that's kind of like the lore behind his statement right there. And she's like, in my world, turning a clock does not change the land around. And she exclamation marks that.
それはえらく退屈な世界だな。
He's like, then that is a very boring world.
この世界を選んで正解だったじゃないか。ここでは土地も回る。退屈が紛れるぞ。
He's like, wasn't it right to choose this world? Here, the land also turns around when you change the clock. And she's thinking to herself, I just want to be bored. She's like, when I'm here, I'm not bored. And she's like, I want to curse myself, the one that remained in this world in the last game. She's like, when I woke up, as usual in the morning, the room door was gone. And she's like, on top of that, there is a limit to even things that I can, like, adapt to, even if some things are lost. She's like, unbelievable. What a wonder world. Or like Wonderland. And she's like, it's too much to keep up with in this Wonderland. She's like, I never heard in my world that the terrain changed when someone got up in the morning. And she comments that you can't sleep well in this world, ... She's like, the amount of stuff is just overwhelming. And she's like, it's a feeling that I've tried to adapt to many times since coming to this world. She's like, I was supposed to get used to it. And she's like, as expected, I didn't think it was, like, possible anymore for her to adapt. She's like, but she still found it sweet here, and she still wanted to stay more.
退屈する間もないとは幸せなことだ。幸せ者だな。
And he comments to her about her earlier statement about being not bored, and he's like, being not bored is a happy thing. So Alice is happy, and he steamrolls over the fact that she just wanted to be bored. She's like, ... She's like, I'll go out, ... She's like, I don't want to stay here anymore. It's useless to argue with him more. She's like, I still have a chance to beat Blood, who is also my landlord and employer, if I don't stay here.
引っ越したばかりで出かけるとは面倒な。まだ地形が安定していないから道に迷いやすいぞ。
And he's like, it's cumbersome to go out just after moving. The terrain isn't stable yet, so it's easy to get lost. And she's like, it's not as troublesome as you are. She's like, he's just not listening, wanting to cuddle.
好きにするといい。私は退屈が嫌いだが、面倒事も嫌いだ。
So he comments, I don't like it. I don't like boredom, so he understands, but he's like, I also don't like the trouble that it could bring.
ついていこうか。僕ら休憩時間なんだ。付き合うよ。
So Dee's like, well, let's follow her. We can have a break. And she thinks to herself that my boss is a bachelor and able to do whatever he wants, but my colleagues are different, and so Elia grabbed the twins' necks as they tried to follow.
嘘つけ！仕事があんだろ！またサボる気か！
And he's like, you're lying. You have a job to do. And he's like, do you feel like having your pay go down again? And she's like, yes, you're working. I'm fine going alone.
お姉さんになら無料で付き合うのに。
And so they're like, if you're our older sister, it's great to go along for free with you. And she's like, no, I feel like going out alone. And she's like, I didn't want them to follow me, so I decided to hurry and go.
気をつけてけよ！迷子にならないようにな！
And Elliot's like, be careful, don't get lost. And she's like, it's okay. It should be fine if I walk around properly and then I'll come back. And she's like, I'm not a small child, and I have lived in this world for a long time. Don't worry about me. And then she comments that it should be okay. That as long as the road is not changed, like too much so far. And then I'm changing this because there's going to be an opening movie for you guys, which I'll also record separately, but I wanted to do it right now also. Okay, you guys, this is where we're going to end it for this video.